What is going on, nation? It is your boy C-Ton, coach of your Lehigh Valley Phantoms, bringing you our PWC Season 8 Week 4 battle against Sniper, coach of the Sharpedos. As always, a link to his channel will be in the description down below. You can check out his other Draft League content, as well as his perspective to our battle. Additionally, if you would like to know more about the team that we are bringing in this battle, be sure to check out the team builder, which is also in the description down below. So with that being said, in the comments, I would love if you guys could give your input on which format you like better, the all-in-one video kind of style that I did for the Carlos battle, or if you like the team builder and battle being separate. It's not, I can still record the team builds beforehand. I'll just hold off on, I'll just like put them in the same video. So let me know which one of those you prefer. But without further ado, we will get into team preview. So he's rocking the Rotom Wash, which I'm expecting to be defensive. The Mega Medicham, which I'm expecting to be fake out 3 attacks. Well, I guess fake out just attack, so 4 attacks Mega Medicham. With like Ice Punch, High Jump Kick, fake out, and Zen Headbutt. I think that's pretty much all the coverage that he needs from my team. Zygarde, I am hoping is a Dragon Dance set, so that way I can check it very easily. But if he is a sub-coil type set, I need to make sure that I keep T-Spike pressure on his side of the field. He has 2 potential defoggers in Rotom Wash and Scizor, so we got to keep those in mind while the battle is going on. Speaking of, we got the Scizor coming up next, which I'm expecting to be, based off of team preview, his dedicated Dragalge switch-in, because the only thing on his team that really wants to take a Draco is obviously Gardevoir, but Gardevoir takes a ton from Sludge Wave, so I think Scizor is going to be his main way of getting in on the Dragalge. Gardevoir, could be a potential choice scarfer. I'm not entirely sure what kind of set he wants to bring, because it could be pretty much anything, but I think probably yeah, I'm not entirely sure. I feel like he would want Moonblast Psychic for sure, or Moonblast Psyshock for sure, because Moonblast hits a lot of my team, and then Psyshock allows him to hit the Dragalge. Thunderbolt probably as well, so he can hit Celesteela, so he might be a Saltfest as well. So that's something to keep in mind. And then Chandelure, I wasn't exactly expecting, but I can definitely respect it coming. I don't really know what to expect out of the set. This could also be a choice scarfer, could be choice specs, because my team's ghost switch-ins are pretty limited from what I remember. So he could definitely be either of those sets. I was more so expecting Crobat in that last spot though, to really utilize his Volt Turn to get in Mega Medicham as much as possible. But with that being said, as we mentioned in the team builder, we built this team to pretty much lure in Rotom Wash as the lead, and we want to get up our T-Spike as early as possible. So I'm just going to lead off with the Dragalge, and hopefully he does not lead with Medicham and go for like fake out, because fake out into insert coverage move gets the kill on turn 2. So that's something to keep in mind. We're just going to lead off with Dragalge and hope for the best. I forgot to turn off sound, sorry about that. And luckily we get the lead choice correct. He leads off with his Rotom Wash as we get our Dragalge. So this is a free T-Spike for us. Obviously he has a free Volt Switch on us, but that's not really that big of a deal. We are a Dragalge, so we have a lot of natural bulk, and we're going to take very little from this Volt Switch. We can also find out what kind of Rotom it is while we get up our T-Spike. So that's what we're going to do. He goes for the Volt Switch, which has 11, and we're just going to fire up our T-Spike as he goes into his Scizor. And with that damage, it reveals that he doesn't have, if he does have special attack investment, he has very, very minimal special attack investment. So that's really good to know. At this point, I'm just going to stay in and fire off a Draco. If he is an offensive Scizor, Draco into Hidden Power Fire will get the kill, but this also gives me pretty important information as to his set. Additionally, if he stays in and chooses to defog, after the Draco I can put up a T-Spike again, and I can ensure that T-Spike stays up on the field. So we're going to fire off the Draco as he goes for a Bullet Punch, and that only does 26, and we unfortunately miss our Draco. And spoiler alert, I go into my Celesteela, But that miss on the Draco is a little bit unfortunate because, I mean, later in the game we find out what kind of scissor it is, but it would have been nice to get that information earlier than this. But unfortunately we miss it. We take 26% from that bullet punch. And I don't want to stay in and keep taking shots. Because if my Dragalge gets chipped below, I think it's 55, I can't live a Psychic or a Psyshock from Gardevoir with my Berry. So I need to preserve HP on that. So I'm going to go into my Celesteela, since it's a Scizor. The only way he can really touch me is if he's Swords Dance Superpower, and he revealed that he doesn't have a whole lot of attack investment, so I'm not really worried about it. And yeah, at this point, he fires off the Bullet Punch on what was the Dragalge, and he obviously isn't going to want to stay in here because Flamethrower is a thing, Air Slash is also a thing, and he has a Rotom Wash, which is a perfect switch into Celesteela, unless I'm Z Bloom Doom, which I don't have Z Crystals on Celesteela. So I'm just going to fire off a Leech Seed here. If he decides to stay in and go for Superpower or Bullet Punch, whatever, I'm just going to get Leech Seed recovery back. And sure enough, he just hard switches out into Rotom Wash. He probably could have U-turned, but if I was an offensive Celesteela and I was fast, he would have potentially lost Scissor to a Flamethrower. Obviously we don't have that, but I definitely understand why he didn't U-turn and went hard into Rotom Wash. But with that being said, we have the Leech Seed off, and now we just want to fire off a Toxic, because getting Toxics off on his team is absolutely huge to whittle it down, and if this Rotom gets chipped down low enough, it makes the rest of my team's life a whole lot easier. Dragalge can click Sludge Wave instead of Draco, and I don't need to worry about special attack drops. So this turn, I assume that he is going to want to stay in and go for a Thunderbolt to get off a lot of damage. So I'm just going to fire off a Toxic. Additionally, the only thing that won't get Toxic on this turn, if he does decide to Volt Switch, is the Scizor. But since he went hard out on the Scizor, I really doubt that he Volt Switches back into it. So I'm just going to fire off a Toxic. I feel like it's a pretty safe play at this point. And sure enough, he stays and goes for the Thunderbolt, and it does 54. Which is a little bit more than what I wanted my Celesteela to be taking. In hindsight, with what I wanted Celesteela to do this matchup, I should have put more into special defense instead of physical defense. But at the end of the day, it's okay. I get 15% back with leftovers and Leech Seed, so that's pretty nice considering. And knowing that he isn't going to want to stay in, sorry for the quick unpause there, he's not going to want to stay in and take another round of Leech Seed and Toxic, so I'm expecting him to go for a Volt Switch or hard switch out. And I feel like either way, the only thing that really punishes me making a switch into Garchomp is potentially Choice Scarf Gardevoir. So I feel very, very comfortable making a hard switch into my Garchomp on this turn. So that's what I'm going to do. He fires off a Volt Switch, and obviously we're immune to this. And now he has to, sorry, excuse me for the but he's forced to take another round of Leech Seed and Toxic. With that being said, now that we're in this position, I'm going to make a nice double and go back into Manaphy, because at this point the only thing that I can do to hit Rotom would be to click Dragon Claw. So with that being said, he has a pretty free switch into Gardevoir. Additionally, if he decides to stay in, he's going to go for something like Will-O-Wisp, or maybe a Hidden Power Ice. So I feel like either a double into Manaphy covers both of these plays very, very nicely, knowing that my Manaphy has some decent bulk to it and I can take hits from Gardevoir pretty easily. I'm going to make that switch and go into the Manaphy, and sure enough he goes into his Gardevoir. So luckily I didn't consider this during prep, but I did not bring the Z-Rain Dance set. He would have gotten the hydration off with the Gardevoir, so that's really nice that I didn't think about that when prepping. But it's too early for me to fire off Tail Glow. Obviously Manaphy is in a pretty good position given the speed tiers that he did bring, but with that being said as well, if he is packing Thunderbolt, I'm in a tough position because it'll 2-hit KO Manaphy, and then I obviously won't get my Eye of Poppin' Berry and a lot of other, it'll just spiral downhill. So I'm just going to fire off a Surf, because it'll give me information if this thing is choice scarfed, and it'll also give me information as to the spread that it is. So we fire off the Surf, and it only does 32, which reveals to me that he is max HP and has a decent amount of SPDF, or he's Assault Vest. Then obviously we see leftovers, so we know he is not Assault Vest. So he is a very, very bulky Gardevoir, so I can take any hit from it. So with that special attack drop, instead of doing 32 again the following turn, I'm only going to be doing 23, I guess it would be, right? Something like that. Around 23. Basic math isn't my strong suit. But yeah, we don't want to take this. He revealed that his best coverage move to hit us was Moonblast, so I'm just going to go hard into Stakataka. Staka will allow me to get up my Stealth Rocks, which will help with the Scizor and also the Chandelure, so I feel like it's a pretty no drawback play. The only way he can hit me is if he is Focus Blast, and if he is Focus Blast, I have the Chople Berry, so it isn't an issue. He'll take another round of Toxic, and that's starting to whittle it down. He goes for the Thunderbolt, revealing that he does have it, so I'm not sure why I didn't go for that the first turn. But we take that very well. It only does 26, and I'm just going to throw up the Stealth Rocks here, as he is going to fire off a Will-O-Wisp, which is really cool prep on his part. And I'm going to set up the Trick Room, because Trick Room is still pretty solid with the team that I brought, and he throws off a Wish. Sorry, that was a quick succession, but with that Wish up, he still dies to Gyro Ball, and we are in Trick Room. So I'm expecting him to want to pass that into either his Scizor, and then be able to recover that, or into his Rotom, which I believe is at 40%. Yeah, it's at 45%. I think Scizor's still at full, if I remember correctly. It's not coming up, so I'm assuming so. So basically my way of capitalizing that, he also could go for Protect here, which is another very viable. Or no, he revealed his full moveset already, so he can't go for Protect. So I'm just going to make the switch into Dragalge. His only two coverage moves are Moonblast and Thunderbolt, so I can take either of those very well. And if he does want to pass the Wish into his Rotom, I can capitalize on that and fire off nice damage. So I'm going to make that switch. He does pull the switch into his Rotom and brings that thing all the way back up to 90, so it's annoyingly healthy again. This turn I fire off a Sludge Wave. He revealed that his switch-in is Scizor, but I figured on this turn if I went for Sludge Wave, it hits everything on his team pretty well, except Scizor obviously, and if he did go into Scizor, I didn't take the special attack drop, so HP Fire would have been able to do a lot more damage, and he revealed that his best coverage move is Bullet Punch, and that was only doing 26, so I felt a lot more comfortable going for the Sludge Wave. So with that being said, he's going to go with the Slow Volt Switch, and he goes into his Scizor. So it essentially accomplished the same thing, but I'm just going to fire off a Hidden Power Fire. Do a nice 67%. So this thing is very especially defensive. I'm going to sneeze. Sorry about that. And on this turn, I make a little bit of a misplay. My mindset during the battle was, I'm going to sack this thing, and then Trick Room will end, and I'll be in a much better position. But with that being said, if I switch out here, Trick Room is obviously still ending, and he isn't very offensive, so Garchomp is incredibly free. But with that being said, I do decide to stay in, unfortunately, and I just sack this thing off to a Bullet Punch. If he had gone for something like a U-turn, expecting the switch and preserving, I would have been in a little bit of a tougher situation, but Garchomp outspeeds everything on his team barring Choice Scarfers, and we're in a pretty decent situation, so I wanted to make sure that it got in safely. And sure enough, this is what we're going to do. We're just going to fire off an Earthquake. He doesn't really have a switch into it at this point except for the Rotom, but Rotom is low enough that I can kill it with a Dragon Claw, I believe. Yeah, after Rocks I can kill it with a Dragon Claw. And he goes into his Medicham, so I'm expecting him to go for the likes of Fake Out, but instead he does not, and I'm just going to fire off Devastating Drake to get the kill. I believe part of the reason he did that was because if I was Dragon Claw, it wouldn't have killed. And Outrage was a roll. It was heavily in my favor, but it was a roll. So I kind of get that, but excuse me, I have the devastating Drake, so that's not an issue. And here he makes a little bit of a questionable play in my eyes. He goes into a Chandelure, which he might have been trying to bluff a Choice Scarf, but even if he is bluffing a Choice Scarf, he can't kill me with anything. So I felt very safe to stay in and just fire off an Earthquake. If I were him, I would have gone into the likes of Rotom or Zygarde, forcing me to go for, well, hoping that my coverage move was Outrage. Well, if I were Dragon Claw, I think Zygarde would have lived one. So he could have made that play. Forced me to lock into Outrage because it is my set, and then go into Gardevoir safely. But instead, I'm just going to fire off an Earthquake, and I'm going to send this thing into another dimension. Now he's going to go into his Zygarde, and I could, this is a roll, but I have a very, very, very safe Buzzwole switch here, so I'm not going to mess around with this again. And also, if I lock myself into Outrage here, Gardevoir comes in, Gardevoir revenges me, and then I end up losing another differential. So I think it's safest just to go into my Buzzwole. Dedicated defensive answer. He goes for the Dragon Dance, racking up that poison damage. Toxic Spike's coming up huge. And this devastating Drake did 64, which is absolutely laughable damage. Buzzwole is disgustingly good. I love it so much, sorry. And I'm just going to fire off an Ice Punch. And unfortunately, the Toxic Spike is going to take out the Zygarde, so Buzzwole doesn't get a kill, and Gardevoir gets a free switch in here. Here, I get a little bit panicky because Gardevoir traced my Beast Boost. I had a very safe way around this, obviously, but in Manaphy, but for a second I was like, oh shit, this is a really bad spot, and someone threw in chat, GG, it's Gardevoir, which also, Sniper, you didn't nickname it Lil, which is bothering me a little bit. But with that being said, I do have my Manaphy, and I believe it's still at 63, so if he does fire off a Thunderbolt here, expecting the switch, my Aya Pop Berry will pop, and it will get myself back up to a good amount of health. So I make that switch. He goes for the Moonblast, and unfortunately he misses getting the Aya Pop Berry popping for me. So this next turn is going to be a little bit tougher for me now. But I'm just going to fire off a Surf, grab myself a kill. And now he goes into his Rotom. Him getting that special attack drop is pretty annoying because now Energy Ball is a roll to kill, whereas it wasn't before. And I basically have two plays. I can stay in and just sack Manaphy off and ensure the win with Garchomp the following turn, or any Mon, I guess I so choose. But if I go into Garchomp and he clicks Pain Split, I believe it got him up to 71, and it took me down to like 54, and that is 1, in range of me to die to Hidden Power Ice, and 2, it is in range of him to live a Dragon Claw. So that was pretty annoying, and I didn't want to risk that. I figured sacking Manaphy here. I'm at a low amount of HP. If he does go for the Pain Split, expecting the switch, I'll be fine. If he Thunderbolts and I don't get a kill with the Energy Ball, then whatever, I'll just go into Garchomp or Celesteela and grab the kill the next turn. So that's what I'm going to do. I fire off the Energy Ball, and he lives on 2, and he goes for the Hidden Power Ice, which I get, but I also kind of don't get, because if he went, he probably didn't have Pain Split, I'm assuming, but even if I went Garchomp there, Hidden Power Ice was only going to do like 50%, so either way, the next turn, I click Dragon Claw and I get a kill. If he had Pain Split was definitely the play. If he was expecting the switch, which was 100% a thought going through my head. I was sitting at that turn for a little bit. But yeah, really good game to Sniper. Unfortunately, the Toxic Spike damage was just huge, and he brought a little bit of a slower team than I was expecting, and Garchomp was able to outspeed pretty much actually the entirety of his team, which was a little bit tough for him to work around. And having a Buzzwole didn't allow his Zygarde to get Dragon Dances up. So really good game to Sniper. Manaphy finishes it off at a nice clean 69%, and we kind of get some redemption from last week. We should be in a much better situation in the division race, but we are now 2-2 plus 3, so cool stuff. Definitely check out Sniper, and until next time, peace.